Brook Forest Voices presents Life in the Wrong Lane, Why Journalists Go In When Everyone Else Wants Out, by Greg Dobbs. Read by Greg Dobbs.
Dedication. For Carol, who patiently put up with my perilous trips and long absences with love that exceeded the vows we made when we married. And for Jason and Alex, great guys who grew up with their father, sometimes missing weighty events from first steps to first dates. Without my family's forbearance and support, I would have had to enroll instead in law school to make a good living, which at different times in my career has sounded like something I should have done, but it never would have provided the voyages and the adventures that allowed me to produce this book or to live life in the lane where I've lived it. Forward. I call this book Life in the Wrong Lane because that's where journalists live, in the one lane heading toward a catastrophe. Everyone who's normal is in the other lane, any other lane, going the other way. They are getting out. But although my travels, first for ABC News and nowadays for HDNet television, have taken me to many troubled corners of the country and the world, Life in the Wrong Lane isn't a travel guide about exotic places or a contemporary history of the events I've covered. There are better people to write about both. No, it is about all the funny, funky, scary, stupid, dangerous, distasteful, unwise, and unbelievable things journalists experience just getting to the point of reporting a story. Experiences that possibly are even more interesting than the stories being covered, but which never become part of the stories we finally report to our audiences. Public interest about what journalists have to do to cover difficult and sometimes dangerous stories grew during the hunt for the Taliban in Afghanistan in 2001, then the American invasion of Iraq in 2003. What I write about is of that genre. It doesn't matter whether it happened in 1979 or 2009, because while the events inevitably change, what it takes to cover them doesn't. These stories are about adventures that normal people swerve to avoid, but journalists seek. Thus, life in the wrong lane. Think of life as a highway, a divided interstate highway. And somehow you've missed those omnipresent red wrong way signs and gotten going down the exit ramp into the oncoming traffic lanes. Is any of them the right one? No, not for anyone except us. In fact, we go looking for the signs saying wrong way. Those are the ones that guide us. Oncoming traffic is our livelihood. This is obvious in some places, less obvious in others. It was the wrong lane, for instance, the fast one but the wrong one, that got me to war-torn capitals like Beirut and Kampala and Tehran, places where I've had to run for my life while colleagues who ran with me weren't so lucky. On the other hand, every lane was the slow lane, and to my way of thinking the wrong lane, when I had to sit around unpleasant places just waiting for the news to break, such as the first shot in the long-awaited war in the Gulf, or the 2,000th death from religious violence during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Our motto is, when the news breaks, we fix it. Maybe the best example is the first Gulf War, when it was shaping up in 1990 and due to explode at any moment in the deserts and oil fields of Kuwait. Our bosses didn't have to assign anybody to the lane leading to Saudi Arabia. Almost everybody already had his or her passport in the pocket and hand in the air. Did we go for the cozy climate? Nope. For the scenic beauty? The food? Certainly not. We went, at risk of life, limb, and stomach lining, because the Gulf was the biggest story of the year, promising perhaps the biggest adrenaline rush of the then new decade. In the news business at that particular time, the lane to the Persian Gulf was the only lane worth taking. I first spent 2.5 months there during Operation Desert Shield. Although it was furiously hot and far from home,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?